There we go. Got the lion. Got the feet. Cold day, Monday, March the 2nd. I have a little bit of a difficulty incorporating the fact that it's March and there's some volunteering work. Heading back home, and tomorrow morning, tomorrow's the full moon. Yep, gonna start a 3-day feast. Maybe go watch a movie with my anonymous friend, and here I am for my own neighborhood, and nothing that I will to go back to, but I'm a bit hungry. Not starving, but just a bit on the hungry side, you know. And I got 7 seconds, 6, 5. I'm gonna wait. I was scrubbing some on the knees and enough of my face, I guess. Here it is, we're on the mountain. You can see now your camera's overlooking the north, and here Montreal. We got left and right, and we got in the middle, and we got the moon, and we got, of course, always the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, and the plumbers, the electricians, and the welders. So we gotta think and send some loving. And you know, it's not all about the money. Give some charity, millionaires, billionaires. I'm only financially stressed at the moment, and I would give some charity if I'll be a millionaire, billionaires. You can check from my past videos. And tough times, for many, myself included, across the North American Collectif, and I'm celebrating, marking 6 years. Six years since I survived COVID, back in 2020. That's when I survived COVID, you know, and I had survived COVID in 2020, between mid-March and mid-February and mid-March. Between mid-February and mid-March, I was really sick, especially last week of February, and the first 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days of March. I was really, really sick. I thought I was going to die, so it's a celebratory march back to my headquarters from my own neighborhood. Nothing that I want to go back to, but just passing through, because this is where the work was, and this is where I got to do some arbeit, and this is where I got to do some of that loving, and some of that left, and some of that right, and, you know, in the middle. And that's just what we have, and that's just what we rock and roll. And, you know, it's always for the firefighters and the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, and the doctors, and, you know, the plumbers, the electricians. Got to wash the roads, because we got some ice, and that's the moon goddess kisses always. Kisses I got by the trillions, around 18 trillions, and I did some scrubbing, a good 3.5 hours of cleaning, about another half an hour of taking out the garbage, I guess. So yeah, adds up, you know. I had to run, I had to jog, and actually I was jogging or running, and it took me a while to get there, so I gotta add that to my march, you know. Oh, this is icy. That's an ice patch. Watch it, there's ice patches there.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. There's ice patch there. Yeah, there's a ice patch there. And that's just how it is, and that's just how it's for the go, and that's just how we gotta get it for the left and the right and in the middle, you know. And it's something which we gotta be, sometimes gotta look out for each other, you know, as fellow citizens. And yeah, oh yeah, this is another ice. It's very slippery. Actually, this ice here, because it was hot, 6 degrees Saturday, and then Sunday it was minus 15, and now it's minus 11, So it went from hot, rainy, and it froze. So it's dark, black ice. See? So you slippery slide and slippery get and slippery go inside or outside, and then you interject and then you slip. So you gotta be careful and prudent, you know, because it's safety and security in the public, you know, 24/7. Rock&Roll, sports and fitness, geopolitics, special emergency event. And now the war started, and you know, I have Asperger's, I have autism, HFA, high functioning autism, ASD level 1, autism spectrum disorder level 1, which is the same as Asperger's. And being that I have this Asperger's, which is the same as HFA, high functioning autism, and ASD level 1, and that's just what I am consequently, and I'm an Aspie. I'm no longer ashamed or not accepting of it, because for years and years and years, several citizens have been telling me that I have Asperger's, that I am on the autism spectrum, high functioning autism, which is the same as HFA, is the same as ASD level 1, autism spectrum disorder level 1, and the same as Asperger's is one and the same. So those three names I use interchangeably to make a reference to the same neurodivergence with which I live, and which took me about more than 7 years to finally accept it. Right, to finally accept it. More than 7 years to finally accept it, and 7 years, about between October 2015, actually spring 2015 and October 2022, so more than 7 years citizens have been telling me, and I always said no, I didn't want to wear the stigma, the label, of being on the spectrum of autism. And only about October 2022, 3.5 years ago, I accepted it, and I said yes, makes sense. Losing my employments, losing my jobs, losing my friends, so I don't want to waste anybody's time, eh? Friends with benefits, eh? Friends with benefits only. Friends with benefits only. Friends with benefits only if you're 18 plus, you're black and white or rainbow, or a man or a woman, or black and white, or a woman, a man. Watch the ice here. See, there's a lot of ice patches. If you're a man or a woman or black or white or trans or gender, I'm androgynous, pansexual, then whatever the case may be, it is, of course, a conference where we got to be now correlated in all the domains, but that is just the affectation, of living on the spectrum. And of course, living on that spectrum is, of course, relationship with being in the coded relatives of our civilization complex, that I'm different, eh? So I'm part of the LGBTQ community, androgynous, pansexual, and of course androgynous, pansexual, and of course an Aspie. I'm an Aspie, artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical, theoretical theorist, and I develop theories for the North American Collectif first and foremost. And it's every day, live carpe diem. Since I died of COVID was hard for me. Our moon's gonna be so full in the morning, It's gonna be so full in the morning, and that's just gonna be a full moon there. And it's gonna be the goddess bless, God bless, always God bless and goddess kiss. And speaking of the goddess, you see that's the oratory St. Joseph, and my will to build the forgotten goddess temple in North America to be 11 times bigger than the St. Joseph's oratory, and my will also to build the Imperial People's Coliseum, because I have been and will challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match ever since 2018. And I got those red gloves. Still challenging Donald Trump to that boxing match since 2018. Granddaddy Trump did some mistakes to impose tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel, and I died several times, and I survived a vicious surprise attack, a murderous, homicidal surprise attack in nature, and here I am with all the scars. And I lived over there, here in Côte des Neiges, not a few kilometers that way, a few kilometers south. Well, actually it's southwest from here. From here it's southwest, that way somewhere, in a very moldy basement. I didn't even have a bathtub where I lived. I'm glad I'd have one now. I'm gonna have to take a bath in the coming days, probably Wednesday or maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure about the night. Just brush my teeth, because I gotta brush my teeth more often. But yeah, I lived in this over there, not far from here. Here, technically, I'm in my own neighborhood, and again, that's why I say I pass by sometimes, because for work or for volunteering or for going to get some chocolate bars or some wafers or some here there at the market during the spring, summer, autumn. A few months there's a open market, and they have good prices on bananas, on fruits, and melons during the spring, summer, autumn. I still go shopping in my own neighborhood, but besides that, I see nothing that I will to go back to, because I really lived in like a prison cell. It wasn't an official prison cell, but it was so moldy. Lots of mold, M-O-L-D, full of mold, M-O-L-D, and I didn't even have a bathtub. I only had a shower, small shower, like a prison cell, and I get flashes living in that place. I don't know how long I lived there. I survived, but because my memories like black out, I have trouble remembering my life before 2013. November 2013, early 2014, before that, before like January, February 2014, November, December 2013, before that, I have trouble. It's like blackouts of memory, I don't know if maybe I was a junkie, maybe I was doing drugs and alcohol, and I'm still gonna keep updating because I have to retrieve the archives from the Jewish General Hospital, where I went it's been a few months ago already. I went, but they had closed their office. I was there at 3:45. I was there, it was 3:45 p.m., but that closed at 3 p.m. So I'm gonna have to go again to retrieve the archives, because I went there, the emergency department, emergency room, emergency offices, and I had a procedure done to reinstate my dislocated right shoulder. It was severely heavy dislocated, almost like I lost it, because I was attacked. I survived a vicious, murderous, homicidal in nature surprise attack years and years and years ago. I was hit in the head, hit my head on the concrete, and was all bloodied up, was all bloodied up. I got up though, I got hit hard. Vicious surprise attack. That would have been an expulsion from any sports league, NFL, NHL, NBA, MLB. Please donate some tickets to the public workers, firefighters, butchers, and firefighters and train conductors, and for the public transport, for the bus drivers. But yeah, it would have been an expulsion from any sports league. I survived that. That was with homicidal murderous intent though. It was homicidal murderous in nature, The nature of the vicious attack was murderous, homicidal. So I survived that. I don't know if it was with an object or something where, just pock. I got hit hard out of no vicious surprise attack, and I survived it. I went to the Jewish General Hospital. The doctors there, the emergency ER, they cracked back my right dislocated arm or shoulder. I was given a cast, a removable one for my right arm, and I was put on some meds. Well, I was given some medication, so I want to know what the meds were. What was the medication that they prescribed me to take? Because I took it. Is it maybe medication, or maybe that's why I have trouble remembering So I have a very good memory, but of the past 11 plus years, just before that date is just blackouts, I'm not sure exactly. I can't really tell my life events, personal life events, of course. Personal life events. Personal life events. Personal life events. Personal life events from before that date. It's like retrograde amnesia. But when you have an amnesia of personal life memories, it doesn't affect mathematical skills, because sometimes I just know math. I do math constantly even now. I know the gas price went up, and I'm trying to calculate the gas consumption and the ratio and do what I call speculative math, because it's speculations about gas consumption and energy consumption, because I don't have all the information, but it's always some mathematics going on in my head when I march, as you know from my past videos. But anyways, language skills you don't lose, mathematical skills, but these types of amnesia, such as retrograde amnesia, retrograde amnesia, you lose personal memories. Oh wow, look at these potholes. Oh, these are brutal. If somebody comes fast, it's even a danger. Somebody comes fast with children, they're double trouble, twins. Big twins there. Ooh. Those need to be fixed ASAP. Somebody comes fast at night, 60 an hour, 70 an hour, goes right into the trees here. This is danger zone. At night, somebody comes From that turns fast and goes there, and whew, that's accident. If they have children, their children gonna bang their heads or maybe get a concussion. And interestingly enough, the city said that there's no money in the budget for or the potholes. I just couldn't believe it. There's no money there's no money. There's no money for the potholes. I gotta look at the budget, but that's last week. That's what I heard, and it's quite alarming. Think about that. If I think about it meditationally, it's really this. I have to discern more the numbers, but anyways, yeah. Back to I have a good memory of my life events, the past 11 years and a half, but just before early 2014, late 2013, November, December 2013, January, February 2014, which is a long time ago, right? That's more than 12 years ago. So I do have a good memory of the past 11 years and more than a half, right? Like 11 years and 7-8 months. Just before that date, as I lived there, it's just problematic, it's like blackouts. I'm not sure sometimes memory comes back, but it's a long time ago. Yeah. Thinking about it, early 2014, that's 12 years. Late 2013, that's more than 12 years ago. So I have a good memory of the past 11 years and a half, 11 years and 7 months. Just before that, kind of goes on a blackout, It's like a blackout. So it's kind of strange. It's amnesia, forms of amnesia, I don't know if I was a junkie or I did drugs or that vicious surprise attack or what have you. Maybe the meds that the doctors prescribe, some medication maybe. I'm not sure. Sometimes memory comes back with time or therapy, but I don't really need to know. I don't really need. I know that I moved where I'm with nothing. I had nothing and I moved there. I have a high school diploma and, my copies of my birth certificate. Copies of my birth certificate are probably in a book that I left somewhere to brought back in the libraries. I used as a sign to know where I am. Probably 2016, 2017. It's maybe in a public somebody, or I put it in those public libraries, and it doesn't matter. I died here in Montreal. I'm reborn here, and I have a high school diploma. I would say I could have been born in Berlin, but if it's 1984, which one? East or West? East or West, or Haifa, Israel, or under the Pentagon? Here on the island, on the mountain where I was born in previous past lives incarnations, because I do believe in reincarnations, or in Lugoj, Romania, in Transylvania, born in Transylvania. Is it maybe a fantasy? I'm being a little bit of a vampire, but I'm more an Aspie than a vampire, that's for sure. And it's 24/7 geopolitics, sports and fitness, rock and roll. But yeah, and I haven't left the island of Montreal. It's been so long. The last time I left the island itself is going to be 7 years in June. So even maybe more than 7 years since last time I left the island of Montreal itself, which here we live in the island of Montreal, So I'm celebrating today. It's a celebratory March. 6 years since I had COVID. 2020. COVID. 2020. Wow, 6 years already. So since then, I live carpe diem it every day, as it will be my last day, because I was very sick, man. I was so sick. So since then, I live carpe diem it every day, and being LGBTQ as long as I can remember. I mean, I have LGBTQ theme songs since written from dated, because I don't remember writing them, 2012, 2013, but I write them every day. For the one that I specifically wrote about 2012, 2013 is the one with Julius Caesar, like a homosexual, black and white or rainbow, where my legions of homos. Do we like Julius Caesar, black and white or rainbow, deep throat? Yeah, that one is a bit more 18 plus. It's rock and roll rap. Mixes Julius Caesar and homosexual. I love you, homosexuals. Friends with benefits only for me if you're 18 plus, black or white or a man or woman, and I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste nobody's time, actually, Life is short. Friends with benefits only, Maybe because of that song, somebody got homicidal, murderous on me, but hey, I survived. Make sure you don't miss next time. I'm gonna turn into Dracula as his descendant. Make sure you don't miss next time. I'm gonna turn into Dracula's descendant. Make sure you don't miss next time. I might turn into Dracula's descendant. But I don't like violence, I do not like violence at all. Actually, I don't like violence, to be honest. Not at all. I like dancing. Dancing is my favorite sport. Get that priestess kisses, but I am hyper vigilant, I am hyper vigilant, and my theories are for SSD, as you know. Get acquainted with hundreds of my theories, the Security Service and Defense Protocol for the North American complex. And I always say maybe I was safe to save somebody else because, many times I did some good deeds and what I call interventions, special independent citizen security interventions, and of course special citizen insecurity interventions, which I did, bigger or smaller, and of course whatever the case may be, and some are bigger, some are smaller, and one in particular in 2016 which I did, one in particular which I did in 2016, which I always recall. Got 10 seconds. One in particular which I recall, I wonder what that is atop there, see? No, that's not a satellite. Lights atop satellites, Maybe it is, maybe it is not. And that's what it is with that. And that's how we gotta end that rock and roll, and till the end, we're gonna rock it. Till the end, in the parallel life, we do build satellites, supercomputers, and ICBM rockets, and all that good stuff in a parallel life, Build supercomputers, sats, microchips. I do build them, construct them, and I'm also an Aspie. It is the year darkness, ending on that Montreal, April. It's gonna be on the go and in the left and in the right and in the go. That's what it is with that, and that's what it is, and that's how we got. So that's how we got it now, So, yeah.
Now I see it.
So that's what it is, It's always 24/7, Firefighters, butchers, bakers, electricians, the plumbers, and the welders. Gotta salute, the train conductors, and gotta salute, of course, the transit workers. It's good to have a job, It's good to have a job. Good to have a job, It's good to have a job. I had many jobs. Due to my condition, I lost them, Lost many jobs. It's been losing employment and jobs, and that's what it is with that. And lose them on the go, and lose them left, and lose them right, and you know what it is, of course, to be left and right and in the middle, and that's all we got. Get out of the way for my fellow citizen who's doing some jog. Watch the ice, that's all. And it's 24/7 rock and rolling with me, geopolitics with me, and yeah, I don't like violence at all. I don't like it. I just am hyper vigilant. I have plenty of scars on the body. I had what I know from my life prior to late November, December 2013, January, February 2014, late 2013, early 2014. Before that is what I had kept in some journals, because I kept some journals. So I wrote about another incident where on Christmas Day I was young, and somebody had thrown a bottle. That's why I got a scar on my left cheek, supposedly. I wrote it in, I don't remember the event, but I was all blooded up, and also it hit me in the head, and I have a scar left on the right side of my face, and that was from Christmas. Christmas Day, somebody had thrown a full bottles out of nowhere. Another surprise attack. So I'm hyper vigilant, so I don't like violence. It's just defense best, and I guess I'm gonna have to make peace with the reality that many people did not like me as much as they pretended to do. So I guess I learned some lessons the hard way. Some people didn't like me as much as they pretended to do it. I just want to see what this is here. Oh, it's part of. I thought it was part of the. It's not. It's not part of the construction. It's something else. But I thought it was part of the. This is built by the public workers. This is new since last year. So, thank you. I gotta appreciate that. So, they gotta be on the left and on the right, and in the middle and in the go, and of course for the left, for the right, and of course always for the left and the right, and to be it on the go, and now to be left and in the middle, and make sure when you cross the street you cross safely and prudently, because brakes malfunction, electricity malfunctions, and when you hear the sirens of the police, ambulance, or whatever, fire truck, do the full circle Imperial citizen security protocol, 180 degrees to the left, 180 degrees to the right. So that gives you a full circle integrative aspect, of course, to do it. So if you hear the silence. And give some chatty NFL owners, millionaires, billionaires, because the North American Collectif always for the 10, the 50, and the 3, I put it up. And I was born in the United States 3 times, both 70, 76, once as a woman, twice as a man, served in the same United States Armed Forces twice, 2 different wars, same army. Sometimes I was born a man and woman, man, woman, man. I was the priestess, Pitya Hore to the great Rathria to Lycurgus. I was the priestess, Pitya Hore to the great Rathria to Lycurgus. I was the priestess, as I am today. Telling him of the Imperium, got those trillions of kisses. Pledge your legions, or friends with benefits only. Don't waste my time. I won't waste yours, and that's all we got, And I guess till the end, per the Robo me with Papa Crawley up in Hampton, New Jersey. A third will be up in the better of the Mont Royal there, at the Belvedere Chalet, and I will to build a 4, and my dream, the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, to unite fuse Canada, United States best, via mass public-private partnership across the North American Collectif best at this point in time, as we suffuse ourselves, as we move towards this new world order, which we're going to be establishing via my Trinity of theories and the fusion of Canada, United States thereof, and other protocols, initiatives, which of course we have discussed, and we have of course correlated together in the complementarity of the left and the right, and all sorts of modalities, as with introspection and discernment we advance forward. Here's gonna salute the troops, gonna paint some of that red RED, and gotta be able to kiss and fight as well, because it's not all about the money. And gotta say LOV, today's Monday. It's Love Homosexual Day today. If you're wearing the uniform, you gotta be able to also love and kiss, eh? And sometimes you gotta love and kiss as hard as you fight to defend freedom, because very few of us are, worthy to fight in that cause called the cause of freedom. That's to be defined and established and concorded. And we got cultures, civilizations, histories, and neurodivergence, like myself, Aspies. We're not a lot. There's not a lot of Aspies. There's really not a lot. Less than 1% of us are Aspies. And I recommend, thank you, Anonymous Friend, thank you, Anonymous Friend, for gifting me the book called Teaching Asperger's Students Social Skills Through Acting, All Their World is a Stage. And that's a secondary book. The one that she had loaned for me from the library, I recommend most. And if I find it and I have the money and the budget, I'm going to buy it. It's called Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome. Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome is a book which I recommend the most. Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome. So that is a book which I fully recommend, fully, integrally, in all the other parts of my recommendations, surrounding Asperger's, because it took me years and years and years and years to accept it also. Eh? So it was a hard journey, and I was in denial for more than 7 years since rather early 2015 till 2022, about late 2022. So more than 7 years. 7 years and some months. I always denied it. I would say, no, I'm not on the spectrum. I don't have autism. I don't have Asperger's. And yes, I do. I have the characteristics, the traits, and I'm part of the semi-officially diagnosed. And I'm special needs sometimes, not too special needs, not observant and not extreme special needs, Sometimes just more understanding of the dynamics. And Aspies, we can be sometimes straightforward, rude. We can seem to be rude or abrasive, and straightforward. It's not because we mean to offend, but it's because our brains processes information differently, so we can be very strange. Our brains processes information differently, so we can be very strange, We can be very strange, sometimes weird, awkward, bizarre characteristics of the way we move, the hands, gestures, the body contortions. It just can be weird and strange and bizarre. Hands, facial expressions, We might have echolalia, just repeating the same sentence we hear, or repeating 2-3 times the same phrase or sentence. So we have our shortcomings in the social spheres, right? Of course, me, when I channel the goddess as the priestess with the kisses, when I dance, I guess I do dance clumsy, but of course when I have to be correlated, of course what we got is of course the correlation, what we got to be dynamical about, of course the representation, what we have now to be relative about, and to be correlated of course in all the domains where we coexist, and we correlate ourselves in the plurality and the sphere of course of the domains, of being in the public. And sometimes the fur of course of the dogs makes me sneeze if it's not a poodle, and I gotta keep my distance, so that's just what we are now, correlated, and of course to be representative about in that correlation, and to be observant about the numbers, and of course the numbers we're good about, where numbers is something which we have of course to be now correlated and get it on the go. Oh, this has to be recycled though, eh? This has to be recycled. Yeah, this is best recycling here. I don't know. Maybe, I'm not sure. Does it have to be recycled? Sometimes it's best to just recycle it, A lot of it has to be recycled. Doesn't go here. We're gonna check. We're gonna inspect it, and we're gonna inspect it at the booth. One needs to be recycled, because all this is a great miss if that's taken put into garbage, because there's a lot of recycling spaces. So we're gonna check ourselves while we correlate and how we have it, but that's just sometimes is a waste. It's better to put it into recycling, and there's recycling up ahead, and I'm gonna do the triage once we reach it here. Here we're close to Mount Royal, by the way, where we are, close to Mount Royal. Mount Royal, we're gonna go from west to west, the three-peak mountain, which is right between the east and the west, right between the east and the west, right, of the island. South though, it's not between the north and the south, but it's between the east and the west. If you look on the map, the mountain, see, that's where we usually go. We're not gonna go to the top of the mountain today, because to go, my knee's a bit bugging, and I need to put some cream, and I need to go home because I am hungry. But next time, that's where we were Friday. And sometimes we come by this place, Sometimes we come by this place here, and gotta give a salutation whenever I see some lights. I love these lights, but of course those lights, all these lights, I'm doing this video with clean zero pollution energy, by the way. Time to salute the Hydro-Quebec workers of the past. That's a nice lights there, and all these lights, this light, the lights, the electricity that I'm using in the phone, it comes from clean zero pollution energy. It does not pollute. It's energy, electricity, which comes from the hydroelectric dams. Exactly. It's on all the way to six states in the U.S. The electricity goes all the way to Manhattan Island. About 1/5 of our electricity, 1/5, which is a lot, about 20%, even more now, maybe a bit more, 22%, 25%. 25% is a quarter. Goes to Manhattan Island, and of course the island is covering it, so the island is covering it. The Manhattan Island, yeah. A lot of the electricity, a big proportion, 1/5, 20%, or the more comes from the Hydro-Quebec power dams. And here we are, see, this is where I love this architecturally. It's so nice, so great, and I always meditate when it was built, and that's where I usually go, atop the mountain by that side, or by that side, or by that side, or by the other side. So we are going from Mount Royal proper to Westmount, the peak. So we're atop the mountain, basically. We are atop the mountain, which has 3 peaks: the Mount Royal peak, the Outremont peak, and the other peak. So that's where we are, and that's where we rock and roll. And I guess here we can, what happened here? Or something happened here. Oh, it got damaged. This is the, I gotta be careful because it's slippery. So this is where it was, the phone booth. Correction, the bus booth, not the phone booth, the bus booth. Seems to have been damaged by the falling trees. So I'm just gonna take a look at what can be recycled here, because it's important to do the proper recycling, if we are to do it right. And I don't know what this is. What is this? I'm gonna have to inspect, and because if it's other type of material, it doesn't go into the recycling. It has to go into the recycling, So we're just gonna do the triage and see what we got. Sometimes it's good to do that, to separate, because we need the DGA Dancing Goddess Army, the Imperial Integrated Dance League, of course, to dance for the environment, environmental dancing and nature, and we need to get it on the go. Oh no, it's black bananas. 3 black bananas. I love black bananas. Three black bananas and little tomatoes, and cake. Yeah, I love that. Wow. Yeah, it's cake. Some yogurt. Oh yeah. Black bananas, cake, something else. I don't know what this is, but I'm gonna see. Yeah. All right, for the full moon feast. Bananas. Oh, it's good cake. For the full moon, just before the full moon. Thank you. And black bananas and big cake. Oh, it's lots of cake. Not that much though. I thought it was more. It's not that much, to be honest. See? This is good enough. Oh, there's a kiwi there. Peace for the beast. when I get back home, and I'm gonna close it. So I'm gonna take the whole bag. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's good cake. And 3 black bananas. I love black bananas. You know, that's what we got, and that's what we gotta get it on the go, and that's what we got here, you know, always. Yeah. Good to go. Gonna close it. Where's the moon? Put it in here like that. Go there with the bag. Oh, it even has, there's even spoons. Compostable spoons, I believe. Disposable cutlery. I like the, for parties. For parties. And there we go. So we're gonna go over there and we're gonna consecrate it. The moon, the goddess. And then we're gonna put it all in the backpack, but it's good cake, thank you. It's actually half a cake and 3 different types of cake. There's 3 different types of cake here. So the bag I'm gonna recycle, and the cutlery I'm gonna use, I'm gonna keep and use because I can give it away. Gotta watch it when I turn the street here because you never know, there's the moon. So I'm just gonna consecrate it with the moon. Kisses by the goddess. Whoever donated this, get 1,000,000 kisses. Kisses I got from the goddess, you know. So I'm gonna put it in and see, this is part of the cake. So it's cake, it's little tomatoes, it's 3 black bananas, the cutlery, it was a party, and some yogurt. So we're gonna put it in here. Some of these are open, so I'm gonna use some of these. And I don't know what these is. Oh, somebody got a tension jacket, 50% off. Oh, that's expensive. This garment has been created with a great design department. It has been produced in Italy. $525. $525. I got this from my anonymous friend that's selling it for $1 million. This one, my anonymous friend got me for second hand. I'm selling it $1 million now. It became expensive because she bought it, purchased it for me, and I'm wearing it, so it became expensive. So here it is. Gonna backpack it all. Okay, gonna put it here. See? Put it there, and there it is. Gonna backpack it there. That's what we got. We got some cake. We got some cake. Actually, I'm just gonna crush it in the bag because this I don't really need to reuse. So I'm just gonna crush it and put it in because it's now going in properly. So I'm just gonna consecrate it with the moon. That's good. Although I don't really like how I'm putting it in, to be honest. But I guess it will do. Oh yeah, there we go. We put it in and we got it locked. And now we rock and roll. Home we go. I got cake in the backpack. Yeah. Double happy. To be honest, I'm really happy now that I got the cake. I don't know, it's just, I tasted it and, you know, I like sweets and it's perfect, you know? Perfect for me before the full moon. So it's gonna be a full moon feast, you know? Pre-full moon feast tonight. And tomorrow full moon feast, going to with my anonymous friend to the movies. I'm gonna buy a meal or something over there and we're gonna feast, and Wednesday gonna be laundry and cleaning, so got a full moon coming up, and you know, it's always work in a way that I do the work myself, and thank you, you know. First I had the intention to just recycle the bag, you know. Said I'm gonna recycle it because it was, you know, it was I saw the bag there and I said, oh, if that's thrown in the trash, that's gonna do my part for the environment. So that's why I took it initially, and of course I noticed that there was something in it. So I thought maybe part of it is garbage, and I noticed the cutlery. I said a cutlery, and then I noticed that there's something black and white and red. So I looked, and then I saw, I didn't know it was bananas, but there's 3 black bananas, and you know, I do eat black bananas. I love black bananas, so you know, that's it. That's all rock and roll. So now we're gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna keep updating when I get the information. When did I go to the emergency room, and what date, what year was it? Why was I prescribed? In the coming days, I have a new deadline, March 19th/20th, and you know, it's always living for today. Pledge your allegiance was my dream. Hope for tomorrow, and I know that I survived COVID to do some smaller independent security interventions and some bigger ones, and another interventions or security which I did was, well, I know I was safe from not dying in that moldy place, and I survived that vicious surprise attack was the one in 2016, which I'm going to discuss now. In 2016, and I gave goosebumps whenever I discuss it, whenever I recall it, whenever I remember it. I was going to the library in 2016 spring, and to my amazement, my horror, I discovered in a freely distributed newspaper here in Montreal, I discovered propaganda on behalf of the Islamic State, right? The Islamic State terror group, aka the Caliphate, which after 7 years of between 2018 and last year, November 2015, they were pretty much dormant in their deserts, in their tunnels, wherever they were hiding and being hidden, and wherever they were. And we have seen a resurgence of them, right? We have seen the Islamic State Caliphate come out of the shadows and the desert and the tunnels, wherever they were hiding. And they struck again, and now there's an alarming resurgence of the Islamic State caliphates, caliphate. So we are going to go back in time. In 2016, they declared themselves a caliphate in 2014, end of June, early July. I believe June 2019, officially they had Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi declared the Islamic State to be a caliphate, although they were unrecognized as such, although they had conquered vast swaths of Syria and Iraq, right? When they declared themselves a caliphate June 29, 2014, they were actually had enough territory. They had a big territory, about a half of Syria and a half of Iraq, almost half of each country. They had managed to conquer up to Mosul, right, to half of Iraq in 2014. So I remember geopolitically that event. It was a major geopolitical event, right? And their sheer brutality in warfare and their strategy was brutality, and that espoused, unlike any other terror group before, their brutality of crucifixions even and beheadings, right? No other Islamic terrorist group had ever, or any other terrorist group, or even in modern warfare, the brutality was unseen. It was Dracula-esque, like, almost like, well, they didn't really impale people, but they did behead and crucify. So I guess it was of Vlad the Impaler-esque, Dracula-esque, right, in their brutality-wise. And they were terrorizing the whole world. It was like a nightmare of the whole world. And now, in the past 3.5 months, 4 months, we've seen a resurgence. They came out of their shadows, the tunnels, wherever they were hiding, and they struck again, So in 2016, to my horror, I took in a freely distributed newspaper. The newspaper was called something like the Awaj Voice of the People. And I get goosebumps now. Whenever I discuss this incident in my life, I always get goosebumps, And what do I discover in this freely distributed newspaper? Something was called the Awaj Voice of the People, something like that. And it was taken out of circulation. And probably due to this incident, because I found that article, and I don't know, did the editor even know? How come it got published, right? It was clearly, without a doubt, our SPVM, Service de Police de la Ville de Montréal, our police service is local municipal police service of the metropolis, because Montreal is like a small country, 2.5 million people. Montreal is an island, the metropolis is like a small country, right? It's the second most populated city in Canada, 6th or 7th in North America, even when we include Mexico, right? So it's a huge metropolis. Now, also a failure on behalf of the SPVM, right? And a failure on behalf of the RCMP, which is the co-equivalent the RCMP mounts to the FBI, to the Federal Bureau of Investigation of the United States, and also of CSIS, Canadian Security Intelligence Service, which was founded 21st of June 21st, 1984. Modern-day CSIS, Canadian Security Intelligence Service, was founded 21st of June 1984. Yeah, I know, because I have Asperger's. I know these dates of foundations of major geopolitical institutions, because CSIS is the co-equivalent of the CIA, and it's a security establishment, and thus I kind of know these dates. It's like, how come you know the date, exactly the date, the month, the date, and the year? Well, because they're major institutions, right? So Pretty much like I know Canada's July 1st, 1867, the modern confederation. It's just because the geopolitics is my special interest. Aspies, people with Asperger's, were like myself. Aspies who have HFA, high functioning autism, but Asperger's, we have special interests, and mine happens to be geopolitics for years and years and years, and sports and fitness with that, and rock and roll. But geopolitics, I take pride in my geopolitical work, independent geopolitical work, especially the theories, protocols, implementations, and certain actions of a geopolitical nature, because I intervened on behalf of my fellow Canadians and North Americans, and even beyond NATO. But I'm a Canadian North American. Quebec, Canadian North American, foremost is what I know most, North America. So, but I discovered that in the newspaper there was Islamic State propaganda. I get goosebumps when I discuss it. Islamic State propaganda, their MO, modus operandi, their MO was espoused there in black and white. They were calling on people to pledge their allegiance to the Islamic State Caliphate and to strike us, to attack us, to striking us here in Montreal, in Canada, in North America and beyond. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this clearly was an intelligence failure, because that article should have not been published in the first place. Crime and terrorism. And what I did, without any hesitation, is I took several copies of the newspaper and I went straight marching without any hesitation. Took copies. I went right away marching to the RCMP headquarters. They should still have, if they have those cameras there, and the incident noted, and of course this intervention of mine, which I did, the special citizen intervention vis-a-vis the Islamic State terrorists, because my intervention saved us from a major terrorist attack. Without a doubt. I have no doubt that my intervention enabled me saving tens, maybe hundreds of people from a terrorist mass casualty event. Because in such a big city as ours, that newspaper would have been picked up by many, passed, and then people would have pledged allegiance, just like he was calling to the Islamic State, and did some horrible acts, knife attacks, or planned bigger attacks, or even acquired weapons and improvised devices, or explosive devices, improvised ones to attack us. So I still get goosebumps whenever I discuss that. I say, wow, what the I saw red. I took several copies and I marched right away with them to the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police headquarters in Montreal, and I did my special declaration. I guess there should be the video still of yours truly somewhere in the archives of me going to the RCMP, picking up the phone. I said, I'm here to do a special citizen report, special anti-terrorist report, and I even have I also wrote CSIS in correspondence to this incident, and CSIS got back to me from the letters dated 2016. I believe it says March or April on it. Got to double check, because it's going to be 10 years. It's going to be 10 years already since that intervention. Wow, 10 years soon. This spring is going to be 10 years. Although the Islamic State kind of disappeared, now there's a resurgence of the Islamic State terror group. Right, so that intervention saved lives. I saved maybe potentially hundreds of my fellow Canadians. My intervention, what I call independent citizen security intervention. And you're gonna see here, I want to show you something interesting. This is very long here, the corner of Westmount and the Boulevard. That's the Boulevard, and this is Westmount. You're gonna see is gonna be the number 44. So I'm assuming that it starts at 45. See 44? So I'm assuming it starts at 45, and then it comes down to 44. You only see 44, and then the countdown begins. It goes down, right? 43, 42, 41, until 0. But it starts you see 44. So just for that little strip there, there's 44 seconds. I showed it in my past videos. I always want to show it because I find it interesting, because I never seen any other place where there's so many seconds. Usually it's 20 seconds, sometimes 10, right? 15, I've seen 20, the more, but even in big, that's interesting that it's 44, so it really allows you a longer time. I just want to note that it's funny that you see the number 44, because it's an odd number, right? It's not like 10 or 20. Like it's just it's not really an odd number, because it's an even number. 44 is just unique. I never seen anywhere else on the island that same particular countdown for the pedestrian crossing. the traffic lights there. Just always quite cool to show it. And when I march there, in past videos you see I always stop when I'm at that corner when I do the videos, and I always kind of stop and say I want to show you something cool. You're going to see the number 44 there, and it starts the countdown at 44, 43, 42, 41. It goes down to 0. So I guess you can cross a few times left. You can just do it like maybe 4, 5, 6 times. Just a little strip, because it's not a long place. It's pedestrian sidewalk. So yeah, back in 2016, I found that article. I couldn't believe it still. It's just, when I read it, it was horrible. Alarm around. I saw red. I said, this is dangerous. This is somebody's. I hope not a lot of them got distributed, because that was a freely distributed newspaper, right? So it was free of cost. We have many freely distributed newspapers all through North America. As you can see sometimes in my videos, I pick up the Westmount. There's a batch of Westmount Independence there, but that was a newspaper called Awash, something Awash, Voice of the People. And after, I haven't seen it afterwards. So it must have been license revoked, and if I would have read that article, I would have been a commandant of the RCMP FBI. I would have been the RCMP. I would have right away also did a very thorough investigation, very powerful investigation. And the author, right? The author was a pro-Islamic State supporter. If he was calling to pledge allegiance to the Islamic State, he already pledged allegiance probably. Was he an author from Montreal? Was he in Montreal? Possibly. Where was he from? Maybe in Montreal. Maybe he had pledged allegiance, and he started attacking us, started attacking the youth and children and whatever have you with that. And that's how he got, of course, to be correlated in the relationship, the dynamic where we coexist now with the apparatus of security or service. It was an intelligence failure. And even did the editor even read the article? How can it got published in the first place? That's the problem. It got published. If he got, the editor also would have been at fault if he let it be published without. If he didn't read it, that's another thing. But then the author, right? And the author and the connections and the thorough investigation of the author who wrote that article, which was basically fundamentally hardcore Islamic State propaganda in 2016. And I got the letter from CSIS, Canadian Security Intelligence Service, and probably still me in spring 2016 going and being filmed, and the security cameras of the RCMP there should be, and should be highly noted. And if I would have been a head of the RCMP, I would have contacted the FBI, Pentagon, and the highest echelons of security of both Canada and the United States. And I said, hey, as fellow citizen, just possibly saved our asses. And we found Islamic State propaganda in a freely distributed newspaper. We're not weak, as it wasn't the officers, trained officers, but it was yours truly, independent Aspie artist athlete, who did this special, what I call independent citizen security intervention or independent citizen security action. I have a more philosophical, social dynamic terms and academic scholarly term for it, but fundamentally it was an intervention of security for my fellow citizens, because it was quite dangerous. And without any hesitation, I marched right away to the RCMP. I wish I could buy my anonymous friend a house. Whenever I pass by this house, I always think my anonymous friend deserves a house like this. Or anywhere in Montreal, if I would have the money, but still challenging Donald Trump since 2018 on that boxing match. Let's do it on the Canadian-US border. And before I forget, my intervention aside, which I saved possibly tens, for sure I saved a mass casualty event. I prevented a mass casualty event. For sure I prevented a mass casualty event. My intervention prevented tens, maybe hundreds of people getting harmed and even killed. Mass casualty event like the Bataclan terrorist attack, like October 7th, and even possibly furthermore something more like, well, 9/11 was unique because of the planes, but I meant a shouting in a terrorist attack in the genre of, with this amount of casualty, what could have been like the Bataclan or October 7th, or my intervention, without a doubt, it was Islamic State propaganda. It distributed freely in the newspaper in Montreal. hardcore. I still have goosebumps, and it's gonna be 10 years soon, possibly around March, April 2016. March or April 2016, yeah. Wow, 10 years. So I remember 10, 11 years, 11 plus, then some blackouts, before that. So, I don't know. I don't like violence. My interventions, I guess that's why I always save myself from that vicious murder surprise attack. I always say, God, Goddess, and let's build my will to build the Forgotten Goddess Temple. Forgotten Goddess Temple. You heard that correct. Goddess Judy DSS here in the North American free world. Build it 11 times bigger than this. To be 11 times bigger than the St. Joseph's Oratory, and also to build the Imperial People's Coliseum for sports in perpetuity, to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome, and the Caesar Superdome is of course somewhere to be built. The Caesar Superdome, I will to build the Caesar Superdome. Caesar's Superdome. Caesar's bigger, that is the Imperial People's Coliseum, to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome, right? To be 11 times bigger than the Caesar's Superdome. Here it is. See, but it wasn't this Westmount Independent, but here we have freely distributed newspapers. So these are newspapers. I have these at home, so I'm not going to take, but here you can take some newspapers. So it was like that. It was piles and piles of them, but at the library in Cardeneige. But this one is Westmount Independent, but that one was, the newspaper was called something Hawaj Voice of the People. So yeah, but just like that, anybody could take it, and people were taking it, right? Probably lots of people, because in Cardeneige, where it was, and the problem that in the neighborhood in Montreal where I picked it up from the library in Cardeneige, the problem is that is also the most populated neighborhood in all of Montreal, where I used to live. I moved there in 2015. July is going to be 11 years. Wow. I thought it was 2016, but I moved in 10 years ago. More than 10 years ago, July 1st, I believe, 2015. I thought it was 2016, and I don't know how many years I lived in the moldy place, because I remember about 18 months of living there, since around spring 2014, January, February 2014, till about July 2015. But before that, I have blackouts, like trouble remembering, so maybe I lived there. I know I was there because I have documents there. In that moldy place where I didn't even have a bathtub in Cardeneige, like a prison cell. I guess I served my time. That's why I was safe to do that. Interventions and do some good deeds, karma. But that, maybe I lived there since, because I have documents from November 2010. And I know in 2003 when I graduated high school. In 2003, I did graduate high school, although many Aspies, like myself and many Aspies, generally there's a high dropout rate of college and even high school. I do have a high school diploma. I dropped out of college. I have reference letters. I wanted to go to Kingston Military College. How many Aspies are there? Because we're not a lot of Aspies, people with Asperger's. We're less than 1%, but we got problems with unemployment, Very high unemployment in my community. 80% unemployment. 80%, 4 out of 5. 80% are unemployed. 4 out of 5 are unemployed. That's 80%. 4 out of 5 are unemployed. That's 80%. And 40%, correction, 4 out of 5, that's about 80%, or 8-9 times higher suicidal and depression rates. I have to mention that I was depressed and suicidal since about early 2015 till about 2017, July, August. Actually, when I crossed Canada coast to coast in August, September 2017 with my anonymous friend, that's what got me out of depression and suicidalness. Crossing Canada made me establish a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians, so I consider family. Look at that big pothole. That's danger zone right there. Big pothole there. Huge pothole. Look at that. See? That's a big pothole. Wow. So, when I crossed Canada in 2017, that got me out of being depressed and suicidal. So, yeah, I gotta watch it with the potholes. And That's when I established a strong spirit of core with my fellow Canadians, and crossing Canada coast to coast, I even wrote documents calling for the mass financing of our fellow citizens to be supported to tourism because it's good for mental health, it's good for regeneration, and it's good for mental health, and it's good for living, and it's good for doing, and it's great overall. And that's why it requires a mass PPP, public-private partnership. Fundamentally, my dream is a mass public-private partnership. And there's Orion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 3 in the middle. That's Orion. That means that the Scorpio is right in the back of us because they're always adjacent, facing each other, right? Orion and Scorpio. So in the back of me is Scorpio somewhere there. Do I see Scorpio? Yeah, there it is. Scorpio is right in the back of me, supporting me, and the moon to my left, full moon, always rock and rolling. God bless, Goddess kiss. Let's build the Forgotten Goddess Temple and the Imperial People's Coliseum. And if I would have money, I will give a call right now, tomorrow, actually morning, first thing, and ask how much is this for sale, and maybe buy it for my anonymous friend. Buy her a house, pay my $10,000 debt, and after Donald Trump, anybody who's I weigh myself this morning. I'm officially a heavyweight, so we can get in the rink. I can get in the rink with anybody. April 7th, by April 7th, get some 10 millions. Who's top contender? Usyk, Fury, or Tyson, Paul, whoever. 10 million, gonna give my friend her house. Anyways, let's build the Imperial People's Coliseum on the Canadian-US border. Let's build the Imperial People's Coliseum, and to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome. And the Caesar Superdome is something what we got to be doing now, and in the confirmation, of course, of being left and right and in the middle, that's what we got. So we got to get doing like that, and gotta get, of course, the left and the right and in the middle to be, and that's just what we have now, all the relationships where we are in our correlative aspects, and all those truckers on the road, butchers, bakers, nurses, the electricians, the plumbers, the welders. I'll be putting these marching steps for them as well, and I really love this big building here. The architecture is so cool. Just a little bit of color on it would be nice, but generally overall cool, sleek. Love it, love it, love it. And yeah, let's build the Imperial People's Coliseum on the Canadian-US border. On the Canadian-US border. To be the 11 times bigger than the greatest arena of the NFL, the Caesar Superdome, or change names just like I change name, keep my name out of their mouth if it's not for a blessing. Adrian Hanna Dragon, and of course to build the Forgotten Goddess Temple with the Imperial People's Coliseum, which is going to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome, which had before it was named Caesar Superdome. It's known as the Mercedes-Benz, and before that it was known as the Louisiana Dome. So it changed names like 3 times. It's in New Orleans, and several Super Bowls were fought, played, battled out. One of my favorite Super Bowl, actually, Super Bowl 47. Super Bowl 47, my 49ers lost by 3 points only, but still they lost to the Ravens. It has several nicknames: Blackout Ball, Bro Ball, Blackout Ball, Blackout Ball, Pro Bowl, or the Hard Ball. So it has several nicknames. Super Bowl 47, I think, is the Super Bowl which has the most nicknames. I might be mistaken, but at least 4, 5, even 6 nicknames. Pro Bowl, Blackout Ball, Hard Ball, Ball, Hard Ball, Ball, Hard Ball from the surnames, because it was 2 brothers facing each other, right? 2 brothers, 2 related biological blood brothers. Although brothers and sisters can be of a different kind, but yeah, they were Jim and John Harbaugh, right? Anyways, here we are, Dancing is my favorite sport, though. But please, NFL, NHL, NBA, MLB, millionaire owners and players, and reduce the cost of the tickets by 44.9%. That'll be nice. Cost reduction, and give some tickets to the public workers, Let's build the Imperial People's Coliseum, owners and players, and on the Canadian US border there, and me and Donald Trump, we're going to fight it in a boxing match. We're going to inaugurate it. Me and Donald Trump fighting in a boxing match, and we're going to implement my Trinity of theories, best for the North American collective to correlate it and to be efficient in the fusion thereof of the North and the South, and to know strong and free, become one people. The Imperial Republic of the free, the brave, the strong, the loving, and the just. The Imperial Republic of the free, the brave, the strong, the loving, and the just. The Imperial Republic of the free, the brave, the strong, the loving, and the just. And, I'm pretty joyous at the moment, and although financially stressed, and I'm going to be able to afford to go see a movie tomorrow on the full moon. My anonymous friend, if he doesn't change the mind, and sometimes needs some rest, and then do some laundry, and Thursday got another appointment and some volunteering, and over the weekend coming, gonna hit it hard with working out training and geopolitics 24/7, and now I'm gonna get a little bit in geopolitics, and also gonna say that we're gonna have to build the Imperial People's Coliseum, the Forgotten Goddess Temple, and the House of the Dragon, Pyramid, Scarlet, Crimson, or Scarlet are shades of red, red, my favorite color, what I said, and the Rainbow People's Palace for my fellow neurodivergent community and fellow Aspie community, fellow neurodivergent community, fellow Aspie community, something which we gotta be, and we gotta be doing, and gotta be commensurate, and we gotta be proponents, and we gotta correlate, and we gotta be left or right and in the middle, and of course be relationships of our civilizational complex of where we are now, because it requires our public-private partnership, and it requires an effort of a public-private partnership manner in which we establish this new world order together via my Trinity of theories, the implementation of my CIT theory, citizen integration theory, the DRT, Detro fusion theory, and the DFT, democratic fusion theory, via mass public-private partnership, and you can check hundreds of my videos or read the transcripts like scripture and get acquainted with them, Super important to get acquainted with them and to understand them principally and fully, and what they entail is fundamentally a mass public-private partnership in the relationships where we correlate each other to the dynamic of having the propositions and having the propositions to discuss and to correlate each other in the massive representations, and this massive representation is super important vis-a-vis the left and the right and in the middle, and of course to correlate ourselves in all the spheres where we have now, to be correlated and to be efficient and to be propositioned about and to be the dynamical representation of the co-equilibrium, which we're going to co-establish in the security, service, and defense manner by creating the Dancing Goddess Army, the DGA for the Imperial Integrated Dance League, with the Dragon Army for total security, service, and defense based on my new 911 total protocols, and my brother Scorpio Bill Gates of Microsoft and Palantir and Bank of Canada, Federal Reserve, and all institutions and organizations will be required in different levels to interoperate and integrate fully as we're going to fuse Canada and the United States in this mass public-private partnership affair. And of course, I will go back in time now to 2019 before I discuss the DRT, Detrofusion theory, fully. You need to pay attention. We're entering geopolitics now, so we depart from Asperger's, from the buildings, constructions, the four Imperial People's Coliseum, Forgotten Goddess Temple, and House of the Dragon, and others, which I will to build together. So of course all that domains and the plateaus which we are suffused ourselves is this mass awareness of being the integrated plateau of being left or right and in the middle. So that is just the reality of where we are now. So basically, of course, the fundamentally where we got to be correlated is something where we got to be left and the right and in the middle and to be in the centers, a pro-labor love universal revolutionary centrist, a pro-labor revolutionary centrist. My universal revolutionary centrism, however, is tied hand in hand with my Trinity of theories and is North American centric, however, as well. It is North American centric for the realities of the North American collective, or what I call us being, and we are a North American collective civilizational complex, which is not totally divorced from Western civilization, but we are distinct. So we're not divorced from Western civilization, but we are distinct, not divorced, but distinct from Western civilization. And yes, myself as an Aspie, like I said, in certain social affairs, I do have in parentheses the dedie, disorder and disability. The disorder and disability. The disorder and disability. In parentheses, I have the double DD, disorder and disability. And then in another parentheses, I have the double SS, special skills. So the DD, disability and disorder, is counterbalanced, even superseded by the SS, by the special skills. Because yes, I have Asperger's. There's no medication for Asperger's. You have to understand what Asperger's is, how we see the world, how Aspies are, how we have our own vulnerabilities, eh? And I learned it the hard way. I even had to appear before the judge in court, and it has been a bit more difficult, I guess. And I just want to take a look. Well, it's a nice red box. It's a nice red box. That's the recycling there. So yes, Aspies, we're not evil, bad, or negative, but we're not demonic, we're not evil, it's not a disease, it's not this. But yes, I do have in this the DD, disorder and disability, and in certain cases I am special needs, but not overall, not since it's high functioning, right? Depends on what exactly, and is more understanding of what it is and what is not, which is not a disease, not an illness. But yes, the DD, disorder and disability in certain cases, but in certain cases there's the special skills. And with me, we Aspies, although we're not all good at computer science, by the way, there's a high rate of proportion, disproportionate amount per population, per capita, if you were per 1,000 people. If you compare 1,000 Aspies with 1,000 neurotypicals, of which you are the neurotypicals, the 99% of the population, you are neurotypicals. But then there will be about 11 times higher or 12 times higher for those who are good at computer science. So I'm making a comparison and a statistical comparative analysis. That yes, Aspies. More Aspies are good at computer science and math than you, the neurotypicals, but not all. There's about 20% between, let's say between 13.3% and 19.4%, something like that. Statistically, there's always decimals and margins, right? But compared to you, you're a bit between 1 point something percent and 3 point something percent. And I'm just beginning in computers. I'm just beginning myself in computers. I'm starting, I guess, March. I started, I guess, a few months ago, November. Last year, so I'm beginner level, but I guess maybe because of Asperger's, I can fast forward, flashlights, speed of light, learn, and get a little bit of Bill Gates, but in a parallel life. I am a super scientist, and it's the year of darkness, mid-April 2030, where I design, build supercomputers, ICBM rockets, war machines, and telecommunication gadgets, and high-tech satellites, and microchips, and computers, and supercomputers, and all things of telecommunication. That's what I do. I'm building that parallel timeline, parallel life, where I also have Asperger's. But in this life, my special interest is, of course, geopolitics. So back in 2019, I myself, in October 17 to be specific, I start the World War III scenario, right? So October 2019, I predicted that there will be an international conflagration. In other words, a World War III. Now, with the new recent invasion and the military conflict in Iran, the invasion by the two military conjoint operations, Operation Rising Lion, Roaring, I believe, right? First was Rising. Last year, now it's Roaring Lion. Roaring, Roaring, and Fury, right? Epic Fury. So the conjoint United States-Israel military operation, the preemptive strike, right? What they call a preemptive strike, joint strike. Now, there's more information about it. Was it Israel initiated and United States backed it up, or was it a conjoint effort? Because there seems to be still some clarity around that topic. So maybe I'll get more clarity tonight. But of course, we're going to find out. So Iran, of course, the Iranian regime was partially, not all, decapitation, what's called decapitation strikes, decapitated with the Ayatollah confirmed dead, which he had ruled since 1989. But of course, this is going to have to go an in-depth analysis in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead, because Iran is, of course, a society which, as it is now, it's a very populated country, by the way. It's 93 million people, right? 93 million people. So it's several times the population of Syria and several times the population of Iraq. 4 or 5 times Iraq, 4 or 5 times Syria. Not joint, though. So not conjoint Iraq and Syria, but I believe Syria is... well, they lost a lot of population also, but Syria is around today, I gotta check, but let's say around 20 million, then that's, more than 4.5 times. So population-wise is more than double, if not a little bit more, both the population of Syria, Iraq together, and even it's more populated than Iraq, and Syria, and maybe even Saudi Arabia together. Now, when I get back home, I'm going to have to check if the population of these 3 countries is less than Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, because it might be. I don't know how much population is Saudi Arabia in 2026. Maybe Saudi Arabia has 44 million. If Saudi Arabia has 44 million, Iraq is only 25 or 30, and Syria, if it's 20, maybe these 3 countries are close to Iran's population, but it could be that Iran is more populated than Iraq, Syria, and Saudi Arabia put together. I wouldn't be surprised if it is more populated than Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Iran, and Syria. So if you add the population of Syria, which I'm going to try to do tonight, not to forget, if I add the population of Syria, the Syrian population, the Iraqi population of Iraq, and the Saudi Arabia's population, will it equal Iran's? I think it will not. I think even then Iran, the Iranian Islamic Republic, will still be, not by much though, but by a few million, will still be by 3.5, 4, even 5, 6, 7 million more populated than Iraq, Syria, and Saudi Arabia put together. And of course, from a military perspective, their base, such as, I think they call it Eagle 44. Eagle 44 is a massive subterranean structure where they hide airplanes and drones and airplanes. It's made to withstand, I believe, nuclear attack or mass bombardment, which I think it's so deep in the mountains that it's not going to be able to be bombarded by the U.S. military or any military by the conventional weapons, the conventional bombs or the conventional weapons. So we're going to have to see, but we'll see what's going on. And they have Shahed missiles, and Iran has signed some military deals with China and Russia. And we could see China and Russia supporting Iran, supporting the Iranian regime, vastly supporting the Iranian regime, way more than Israel or the US or NATO would expect. So if that happens, if Russia and China, which has solidified their relations over the past 2.5 years, then we have a big, big, big problem. If Russia and China decide together that is in their interest to mass support Iran militarily, economically, financially, sort of a proxy war, then that might be such a problem that we haven't anticipated. But I think that's a very credible geopolitical scenario, because Iran, from what the knowledge are, that is, are trying to be part of BRICS and SCO and the China's Belt and Road Initiative. And they had good relations with the regime in their ending of their unipolar world, because the Russia and China, they said exactly what they were going to do a few years ago during COVID. I guess it's still officially COVID era in many ways, right? Until we get to the 7th year next year, because COVID started around this time in 2020. I think only March, was it officially declared? Around 15th, 17th, 18th of March, I believe. COVID was declared like a pandemic, right? It took a few weeks, few months. And I had it, by the way. I'm marching, celebrating today, 6 years since I had COVID. So that might be a problem for, of course, geopolitically, but it's a scenario. So my prediction of 2019 is basically now with this attack. Again, I'm not on the ground to fully assess with 300 men and women all the conflicts in Iran and Gaza, Israel, and Palestine and Russia, Ukraine, and potentially Taiwan, and the new one in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and India, Pakistan, the Kashmir, right? So, but however, there is a big problem there, because there is a big problem because, I actually, believe it or not, I have the proof. I have the videos to prove it. Because I also created a workout training program system designed to go with such a scenario in 2019, October. I predicted that there will be an international conflagration. So I had a very academic, scholarly, intellectual prediction based on several levels of analysis. But the main one that I discussed, and that's pretty much one of the most important reasons why I foresaw what's going to happen. There's going to be a fraction of the world order as we know it, and conflicts are going to re-emerge, and there's going to be different geopolitical regional alliances and fragmentation of the world as we know it, with the different institutions collapsing, not being able to keep the old order as it was post the collapse of the Soviet Union and post the collapse of the Berlin Wall, right? Because I say myself, when I was born, if I say I was born in Berlin, or I might have been born in Berlin in 1984, but then which one? East or West? East or West, right? Or somebody says he was born in Berlin in 1984 or 78 or 63 or 77 or 72, whatever, before 1989, says 1984 in Berlin, but which Berlin, East or West? Because you had the East Berlin, East Germany, and West Germany, right? For many decades, you had the GDR, right? The Eastern Socialist Communist East Germans, with their Stasi, the notorious Stasi, secret totalitarian, authoritarian police state, right? The notorious Stasis. The Stasi, that's short for the security apparatus of the East German GDR. So, in 2019, October, just before I had COVID, a few months later, I predicted what's happening now, and I launched consequently the videos where you can see it's World War III scenario day 1, World War III scenario day 200, 200, 300, and I continued even into COVID for a few years, right? Just before, it's actually continuing, right? Because it hasn't found the resolution. But what I have predicted is, of course, that due, of course, to many unresolved conflicts, there's gonna be, of course, an international conflagration of World War III scenario, of course. So that World War III scenario is, of course, unfolding we have seen it now. Right? So that World War III scenario, as we have seen it now, is, of course, happening as I projected it. But it wasn't a projection. It was, of course, not a projection, but it was, of course, a prediction. And, of course, my prediction has occurred as I have predicted it in many ways, right? So as I have predicted it in many ways, it's been unfolding. And one of the reasons is that I have to note and state, as I stated in my videos, but it's due to the fact that many unresolved conflicts still existed and still exist, which were unresolved and which dated from the Cold War period, which lasted almost 45. I don't mind saying 46, by the way, but I say almost 45 or 46. Almost 45 or 46. So whatever the case may be, whatever the case. So of course that is the relationships what we have to establish ourselves. And for all I know, I'm not going to take books, but seeing little libraries such as this one, that's probably years and years and years ago, where I put back some books, or in the libraries where things such as I had a banknote from the Austro-Hungarian Empire, from 1918, a banknote, because the Austro-Hungarian Empire was Gandhi's biography. That's what that is. I'm not going to take it now. I have to put back. And even copies of I had a copy of my birth certificate, which was probably like 2016, 2015, or who knows, 2014 even. I put it back in a book, and I brought it to the library, or put it in one of the libraries just like this. It's probably sitting in the Bibliothèque Archives Nationale, the big library somewhere, in one of those thousands of books which I rented over the years and years and years, from 2014 to 2019, somewhere on the shelves or in somebody's library in the house. For I'm gonna say, hey, what's this? Copy of the birth certificate. Adrian H. Dragon. I changed my name during COVID. I died during COVID. Nothing that I will to be reborn, but I died here in the island in 2020. Here I'm being reborn on this island. So carpe diem it every day. Make love. Don't waste your time. Don't waste mine. Life is short. Friends with benefits only. Pledge your legions for the dream. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Security, service, and defense. And yes, I did predict what's happening now, based on the fact that many unresolved conflicts were underneath the surface of the world order, basically, fundamentally, right? And those conflicts were pretty much from the Cold War period. And of course, the Cold War period lasted for almost 45 years. Some people say it lasted 46 years. I don't mind. But don't go to 48 or 47 plus, because then when? Because when do you start the Cold War? Because if it's 1944, 1943, there was the Second World War didn't end. So the Second World War has to end, right, for the Cold War to begin. So I put the Cold War exactly between March 1947 and the end of December 1991. So I say almost 45 years. About 44 years and 9 months, almost 45 years. That is the duration of the Cold War for me. Now you can say 45, I don't mind, I don't object. 46, I can stretch it, but like I said, not less than 44 years and 9 months. So this was a period, of course, of the Cold War, of course, which lasted almost 45 years, right? So that, of course, 45 years was, of course, something where we got to, of course, analyze and put these dimensions where we coexist today and how the world is today. So it's still many based on those existing realities of then, that the realities existed, and that they have a spillover in the 21st century, right? So those tensions, conflicts, resentments, historical historical conflicts have re-emerged. If you look at Israel-Palestine, right? Hamas was founded in 1987, 86, something like that, 1984, in the 80s. Hamas, without a doubt, I can say that it was kind of initiated in 1984, but it was officially only founded in like 1987 or something like that, right? Hamas. And it took them 20 years to gain power over Gaza because there was the PLO and others in the 80s and 90s who were in power, but Hamas was not in power until 2007, June, July 2007. So it took them 20 years, Hamas, until they reached power in Gaza, or the Gaza Strip, right? So that's during the Cold War period, right, in the 80s. Also India, Pakistan, Ukraine, Russia, Ukraine, they were united in one country, USSR, right? Taiwan and China also date pretty much during the Cold War. Taiwan was ruled as a unitary military. Taiwan, 37 years, I believe, maybe 44. Between 37 years and 44 years, Taiwan was ruled by martial law. Taiwan is known today as the ROC, Republic of China, right? Republic of China. Compared to People's Republic of China, which is mainland China, which is the Communist Party of China, Chairman Mao, who led China to establish the People's Republic of China. So these conflicts have reemerged and potentially on the horizon, China and Taiwan, China and Taiwan, China and Taiwan, China and Taiwan, China and Taiwan is a conflict which can reignite any minute. Tonight, China could invade Taiwan. They had, in the past 3.5 years, they hold so many drills that they have never held drills like that before. China, you wonder how come, right? And not only that, but in the past 5 years or so, China almost, if not doubled their nuclear arsenal. Almost doubled, or more than doubled. Tremendously. How come in 50 years they didn't build so many nukes as they built in the past 5 years? Think about that. There's something going on, right? If they mass invested in building weapons of mass destruction, nuclear warheads, nukes, and modernize and build their nuclear capacities in an unprecedented manner, right? In the past 5 years. Mass building of nukes, nuclear weapons. So, and of course, my concern from Russia's side is the Satan 2, right? Satan 2 can reach all the way here. Satan 2 can reach all the way here. Satan 2 can reach Canada, anywhere in Canada, anywhere in the US. Anywhere in the US. Satan 2 can reach anywhere in continental US, anywhere across Canada, because it could travel about 16,000 something, even miles, kilometers. So, Satan 2 is such a long range, the longest range. ICBM stands for Intercontinental Ballistic Missile. So we are at risk. This nuclear warhead, we are at risk. And of course, remember, in the past videos, you're going to have to check my videos and read about the DMAA, which I discuss as not just as a theory, but also as a strategy and as a MO. Modus operandi for the future. It stands for Direct Military Assistance in Action, because of the potential consequences. And this is a philosophy, an MO, which I created years and years ago, which I discussed over the years, and which has been made for NATO, such as it has been made for NATO, the DMAA. NATO, NORAD, Direct Military Assistance in Action. The Total Mobile Defense Theory, which I don't discuss much because it's national security sensitive, I have created it mostly for NATO. Revolution. promotion for what though? And how and for what? So the goal, right? So the reality is that today fundamentally a mass public-private partnership is required for the North American collective, and my idea is theories to rebalance both the public and the private. And yes, some have some weird things and can be strange and so I said, but my theories are the best gold. Trillions of kisses with it. God bless, Goddess, kiss Adrian, Hannah, Dragon, keep my name out of your mouth. If it's not for a blessing. And of course, it is happening as I have predicted it back in 2019, pretty much, especially now with Iran. This new military conflict intervention is happening as I have predicted it in 2019. It's pretty much unfolding as I had predicted it in 2019. And I also created a workout training program system called officially the General War Integrated Whole Body Training System. That's the more technical title for the workout training program system, of which myself have performed more than 372 sessions, right? Myself, I've officially successfully completed more than 372 sessions of my own creative workout training program system, which is street name Dragon Army Workout, Dragon Workout, the 300 workout, but officially it's called the General War Integrated Total Body Training System. General War Integrated Total Body Training System. I have been advocating for citizens and police forces, armed forces, and FBI, RCMP, and local municipal police sheriff forces across the 50 states, across the 10 provinces, 3 territories to implement it, and as young as 7 years of age, because it requires no equipment, men and women, and in high schools especially, to be part of the curriculum in physical education, to be performed, because it increases general overall fitness. My workout is created to be performed and done in a World War III type of scenario, but it's a great one for the whole body. It exercises the body. It's a workout which is efficient, simple, and effective, and I've been advocating for the mass financing thereof. You can see hundreds of videos on Facebook, Instagram, where I work out, train, exercise, where this workout, training, and exercising has been, is, and I will continue to advocate thereof. So, yeah, we are on the verge of World War III. We need to get that Golden Dome up running, get the Hawk, H-A-W-K, Hawk totem bird in it, and my total mobile defense theory, which the TMDT, the total mobile defense theory, when it becomes a system, we put it into action. So I cannot discuss it too much because it's by national security sensitive, and it requires top levels, big heads set, and top generals, top security forces, top police commanders of the police, of the security forces, and major public-private partnership to implement it by the creation, of course, of the Dragon Army for total SSD, aka the Imperial Integrated SSD Legion. The dream for the Dragon Army and the Dancing Goddess Army to be for the environment, for environmental education and action, because it requires the individual to take responsibility to do the recycling, right? To do the recycling. And it requires, of course, all institutions and organizations to do it and to implement it and to take advice and to do it accordingly also in the public. Just like me, myself earlier, I saw the bag, I say, hey, this has to be recycled. And as you can see, sometimes I put my hand in the public hand, I check with the camera, and you see that things that are put in the garbage should go in the recycling, and vice versa. Things that are or should go in the recycling should go in the garbage, or vice versa. Things that should go in the garbage should be in the recycling, or things that are to go in the recycling are put in the garbage. So that's why we need the Dancing Goddess Army, the DJ, the Dancing Goddess Army for the environment, education, and nature. And we have to correlate it, and we have to establish this as a mass public-private partnership. So things are going according to what I predicted in a general manner. in a general manner. Of course, Iran is still a Cold War unresolved conflict because Iran, the current Iranian regime, has been in power. This Ayatollah Khamenei, both were Khomeinis, one with an A, another with an E. I believe there's the surname difference, but this latest one has been ruling since 1989. Can you imagine? Wow. It's been a long time in power, right? 37 years. This current Ayatollah, which was basically the supreme leader of Iran, the Iranian Islamic Republic, 37 years in power. He was old. He was not young, of course, of age. He was 86, I believe. So he took power when he was maybe, 40, 48, 49, right? Close to 50. And he was the second supreme ruler, because the other supreme ruler, the first Ayatollah, Khamenei, took power 11th of February 1979, right? That's when officially the Islamic Republic was proclaimed 11th of February 1979. 11th of February 11th of February 1979. That's a long time, eh? So, kind of 47 years, something like that, eh? That this regime, Islamic Republic regime, although it's a republic, not as we understand maybe the word republic, Respublica, the Latin, but a different type of republic, the Islamic Republic, and they basically fundamentally a theocratic, authoritarian republic in the Islamic theocratical sense, right? Something really, I guess I can put it myself, can take liberty and say original in the sense that it's original, peculiar to the Iranian Islamic Revolution, their own Islamic Republic. That's the unique system, which is fundamentally also a theocratic one, right? Islamic Republic of Iran. For us to understand it more, we would have to really study a bit, right? It would take us maybe a few days, a few weeks, a few months, a few hours, maybe, well, not really a few hours. We're not going to be able to learn much, but you should dedicate a few hours maybe to read about it, and maybe after a few hours of reading, maybe more. But even then, we will have perhaps we'll lack a certain understanding of the whole system as a whole, right? Because of the theocratic republican system that we might not fully understand from what is for us to understand as well, right? For we will lack a lot of maybe understanding fully, right? The system or their Islamic revolution, but of course, which became successful in 11th of February 1979. It's 1979. So now, back to my DRT theory now, because I'm a North American, and although I believe in reincarnations, and God, Goddess at the table, not perfect, far from it. I don't make pretense to be, and financially stressed, but paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, did pay my phone, not the phone bill, but the phone. I love those. Look at those, so nice, little artistic lights. They're basically snowflakes. So the DRT now going to discuss the debt refusion theory. So the debt refusion theory is what we must implement ASAP as a mass public-private partnership and concorded to creating the two complementary cooperative institutions, and to fuse Canada and the United States as a mass public-private partnership to the Imperial Complex, the Great American Canadian Compromise, to sign new documents atop Mount Royal as a mass public-private partnership concorded atop Mount royal, atop Mount Royal. So now the DRT, just forget everything else, just focus on the DRT, the debt refugee theory, as a financial theory to be concorded, that it integrates the theory which is known as the monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union in the 90s by the creation of the European Central Bank. The European Central Bank in the 90s. So the DRT, that profusion theory, my DRT integrates monetary integration theory, which is basically the theory, financial economic theory, which was implemented in the European Union by creating the ECB, the European Central Bank in the 90s, to issue a common currency for many countries. So inside integrated in my DRT, hey, look at the twins. Twins. So inside my DRT is integrated, the MIT monetary integration theory. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt, my $10,000, your $10,000, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, all the public and the private debt, we're going to convert it into US dollars, Canada coast to coast. I got $10,000 in debt to the RBC, Royal Bank of Canada, myself. So all the public private debt together, we're going to convert it into US dollars. We're going to add it with the public private debt of the United States. And we're going to fuse the Bank of Canada and the Federal Reserve into the Imperial Central Bank, IPC, to issue the new currency called the UE, Universal Exchange Unit. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot UE. The Universal Exchange Unit, aka the Imperial Dollar, because that's what money is. Whether the US dollar, the Canadian dollars, the yuan, the shekel, the euro, it is a unit of exchange to buy, sell. So that's why it'll require my brother citizen Bill Gates, the Bank of Canada, my RBC, all the institutions, banking, financial institutions, including BlackRock, Blackstone, and BlackRock. They split. They're now different financial institutions, but in 1989 they were one and the same, BlackRock and Blackstone. So Blackstone is no longer BlackRock and vice versa. So it will require different institutions, all institutions. We're going to create the UE, U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot UE, the UE. It's going to be having the value of the US dollar. We're going to set an interest rate level of 10%. We're not going to be able to charge more than 10%. We're going to fuse the RCMP and the FBI into the IPS, Imperial Police Service, aka the CPS, Canadian Citizen Police Service, CPS. We're going to get rid of the border, do a census, see who's been living here for the past 7 years. If they don't have too many criminal convictions, if they have 2 or 3, depending on what we have to discern, we're going to accord Imperial Criminal Amnesty, the Imperial Criminal Rehabilitation Act. Of course, we're going to, if they have 44 criminal convictions, we're going to not accord the Imperial Criminal Rehabilitation Act, but rather the Imperial Dracula Protocol. The Imperial Dracula Protocol instead. So after this term, we're going to create the IPS, Imperial Police Service, in the adequate representative aspects of the dynamical representations where we correlate ourselves for this dynamic, and that's how we're going to get doing.
You want it, go for it.
What? Oh no, thank you. It's just bread, eh? No, I have it home. Bye. It's a lot of bread. Next time, I have bread enough, but somebody else can have it, I guess. I will have the samosa. Hey, there's a samosa. I have the samosa, and that's what it is with that, and that's why you gotta get it on the go, and that's what a little friend did was. Hey, there was a samosa. Do you want it?
No, it's all right. Keep it.
Yeah. Bye. So we had the samosa, and there's a little bit of that Rock&Roll for that, and they're gonna check it with that Rock&Roll, so gonna get it on the left, and that's the good samosa, Gonna check it for that food. So now we're gonna get, of course, to discuss the Imperial People's protocols which we're gonna establish, and that's what we're gonna have now, the samosa to eat, and of course I'm gonna establish the correlative aspects, of course, to be left and right and in the middle. And of course, to be the core implementation, what we got now is to correlate ourselves in the capabilities of being left and right and in the middle, and to be imperially in the republic, where we're going to integrate ourselves and to establish the dynamical co-representation for security, service, and defense, and to co-establish the relationships where we are now as citizens of this coming Imperium. Imperium stands for, of course, the plural of the domains, not necessarily the translation as we have it, but from a geopolitical perspective, Imperium, right? Empire, that's why I say it's Imperium. From the geopolitical BDD perspective, benevolent dominance and dominion, the BDD. So we're going to take all the public-private debt, we're going to refuse it, we're going to fuse the RCMP and the FBI to the IPS. We're going to, of course, also do a census of the population. So this census of the population is going to be involving all the populace. We're going to give some citizenships. We're going to create a new citizenship, the American Concordat, and it's now one state, Granddaddy Trump. We're going to have to make this great American Canadian compromise. We're going to fuse the true north, strong and free, for the free, the brave, the strong, the love, the free, and the brave, and the loving, and the loving, and the loving, and that's going to be the loving and the Imperium where we got now, to be left or right and in the middle, and to be correlated in all our aspects as we are interjecting. And that interjection is the relationships of the faculties of all the domains where we co-establish ourselves, and we are to be united in the Imperial Republic, pledge your allegiance to our family, and where this union will establish a total new world order of benevolent, dominant, and dominion one, and consequently create the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions for security, service, and defense, and rebuild the ghettos. We're going to have to rebuild the ghettos. The North American Imperial Republic, we're going to have to rebuild the ghettos. Rebuild the ghettos together, Rebuild the the ghettos. We're going to have to rebuild the ghettos. The inner urban cities, we're going to have to rebuild them. Mass rebuild them. B, also financing security, financing food security, finance housing, finance fitness, and finance the rehabilitation of our complementary forces, and of course do the great census, rebuild the highways, the bridges, the potholes, and build the Imperial People's Coliseum, the Forgotten Goddess Temple. Mass finance fitness, mass finance our brothers and sisters, the Imperial Citizen Rehabilitation, the mass finance tourism. Everybody who's 16 and over, we're going to be financing 4 times a year. 4 times a year. That was spring, during the springtime, summertime, summer equinox, spring equinox, winter equinox, autumn equinox. We're going to finance 4 times a year. Every citizen to travel anywhere across the new 63, because we're going to have 63 imperial propositions, imperial states. We're going to fuse these domains, and of course it's some great work which will require mass public-private partnership. We're going to mass finance tourism. Tourism financing will establish a strong imperial esprit de corps, and we're going to rejuvenate, recreate, and rehabilitate the population, mass population rehabilitation for rejoicing and redoing, and doing, of course, the reconstruction of our highways, our bridges, our potholes, mass employment, mass people to work, especially Aspies. Aspies also, we got to do a lot of work on that, because my community suffers from underemployment and unemployment at 80%. And also finance volunteering, finance food security. We're going to build new plateaus for total SSD, security, service, and defense centers where everything is monitored. Of course, with institutions and organizations, we're going to wire telescreens everywhere, by way with video, video and audio and video, telescreens and audio visuals, audio and video telescreens everywhere. And we're going to rehabilitate, and we're going to have to be rehabilitating all the domains where we conjured to be, and gonna establish this mass plateau, for total security, total service, total defense, and rehabilitate massive rehabilitation of our populations. Mass financing fitness, mass financing security, mass financing fitness, mass financing youth, mass financing tourism because it's great for mental health, mass financing fitness, do my workout, get some UEs, the new currency UE, U.Universal Exchange Unit, aka the Imperial Dollar. Pledge your allegiance to our family or friends with benefits only. If you're black or white or a man or a woman or 50-50 androgynous like myself, you gotta be 18 plus for that play. 18 plus, and that's what it is with that. And that's why you gotta get drilling, of course, always. Build more buildings, more social housing, and establish the total concordiate for total PPP, public-private partnership will require. Going to have these mass new centers built where citizens via the CIT citizen integration theory, also parallel to all the DRT debt refusion theory, where citizens can partake in security, know what's going on, know the public works that are happening, know the ports, what's coming in the ports and the airports. And of course, we're going to create also a Imperial smartphone once every citizen was 16 and plus is going to be accorded this Imperial phone. We're going to get textings to encourage volunteering, to credit UEs and credit food security and credit housing, to have a digital social Imperial score, an Imperial social score where fitness and tourism credits. The special phone will be only for citizens. It's going to be secured with all the 5G networks. There's a mass public-private partnership with Microsoft, Google, YouTube, Microsoft, Google, and going to have the special Imperial phone 24/7 transmission in the public and financing food security and encouraging to work out, train, exercise, to partake in the Dragon Army. Partake in the Dragon Army and the Dancing Goddess Army and the Empire Rise and Be. Let our empire rise and be. Adrian Hanna Dragon, keep my name out of your mouth if it's not for a blessing. Hope you have an understanding. Adrian Hanna Dragon, keep my name out of your mouth if it's not for a blessing. Let our empire rise and be. Adrian Hanna Dragon, pledge your legions. Thou art family 24/7 for the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the truckers, the electricians, the plumbers, the warehouse workers, daycare workers changing diapers, LOVE.